Hi, I'm Isabel, founder and firebrand of the Operation Spark.
Hi, I'm Kristen, author of The Age of the Child.
Hi, I'm LeNora. I'm the creator of The Bitchy Bookkeeper, and we are the three founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. In this episode, we are going to be discussing whether or not we tone down our child-free happiness when around other parents, and we are going to be dedicating a segment to speaking directly to the younger child-free community. But first of all, why don't we do a quick update on coronavirus? We haven't actually talked about this in a hot minute. Is there anything new and exciting happening, things reopening yet in your neck of the woods?
Our state is supposed to start reopening stuff tomorrow. I don't know which businesses, probably restaurants. I think that restaurants are supposed to reopen tomorrow with only outdoor seating, I think, or with very limited indoor seating. Hair salons are going to start to open sooner. They were going to open tomorrow, but they just decided to push that until June 1st. And I think Ian said he has the first appointment with his hair person on June 1st, like first thing in the morning. He's already contacted her.
Isabel, how are you doing?
It's like fucking Groundhog Day here every single day. I mean, nothing has changed. Normally, we would go on quarantine until the 25th of May. So this is going to air afterwards. But I heard that it's going to be pushed to the 7th of June, at least. And I think they're planning on starting to open hair salons and doctors' practices. But
and are you going to want to go to these places once they open? Because I know I'm sure as hell not going to a restaurant, and I'm not going to a hairstylist. I'm not getting because then people's faces are right in your face.
Well, they're not opening restaurants here. Like our president's like, you guys are not having any social life anytime soon. So that's not even on the table. But the hair salon, I think if they take measures of like keeping people, I mean, I don't know, to be honest, I don't care if my hair grows all the way down to my ankles. That matters right now. I don't really care. I'm more worried about waxing. Like I have to get waxed. I love getting waxed. People are like, what? It's like torture. No, I fucking love it. I can fall asleep while they're waxing me. So I do need to do that. So yeah, I think I'm going to get a wax.
I miss my waxer a lot. Yeah. The haircut thing, I don't mind my hair growing long. I mean, as you can see, you don't see my real hair in these episodes anymore either anyway. So it'll just be wigs for me. But they announced this morning that the border between Canada and the US is going to remain closed for another month. So there's that. Our city was one of the two in the province of Alberta not allowed to reopen because we have the most cases of the coronavirus. So the rest of the province is in its what's so-called phase 1 stage, where it's like, I think barbershops can be open a little bit, some salons, but no bars or clubs or movie theaters. That's also closed. Calgary is not one of those cities. Next week, they're saying most likely we'll be able to open restaurants for 50% capacity seating. That's just phase 1. Other provinces are kind of taking it day by day. Some are a little bit more advanced than we are. So, I mean, nothing has changed for me. Nothing's probably going to change for me. I still can't really drive to the mountains. They're easing that a little bit, but going in to restaurants and tourists, like from out of town, they're saying, stay home. So that's about it. Just really stir crazy though. Anyway, so our first topic, toning down your child-free happiness around other parents. Now, we had posted this question in our Instagram story and got a lot of really interesting responses. So I wanted to ask you two, you're both happily child-free. Do you tone your happiness down when you're speaking with people who have kids or want kids? Isabel?
Not really. I mean, I don't really hang out with a lot of people who have kids because I don't, like most of my friends don't live here. And the ones that do, they don't have kids yet. I don't really hang out with parents. They're boring. Sorry. It's true. I mean, they have like a lot of restricted time because the kid, right? So I hang out with people who either want kids or don't want kids, but don't have them yet. So no, I mean, I don't feel that I have to tone my child-free happiness down. I feel I get bullied more online about it, or not bullied, but I get more shit about it online than I do like in real life. I feel that sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that I have, whatever time or the money or whatever it is that I have because I'm child-free and I can do this or I can buy that. And people are like, you shouldn't like gloat,
Is this on like your personal Facebook page?
Yeah. And it's usually parents like, oh, you shouldn't gloat about it. Like, it's because you have no kids. Well, yeah, duh. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really pay attention to it. Like, it's not stopping me.
That's the problem. Like, shouldn't gloat is, I think it's seen as gloating, which is a problem. Like that just assumes that poses a problem, because if someone is talking happily about their children or about their standard white picket fence, whatever life, they're just being happy. But if we do it, it's gloating. And I think, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I feel that inside. So it's not like I intentionally try to censor myself, because there's not a lot of opportunity to talk about not having kids. I mean, I'm just living my life. It's not, I'm not running around, I have no kids. But if there is a situation in which it could come up, I feel an inner sort of hesitation about being too happy about it, because I'm afraid of how it'll be perceived. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's just the way it is. So in some respect, I probably would be a little quiet about it, just maybe because I also assume maybe the whole gloating thing comes from how badly we don't want kids and feeling so happy about not having done it and thinking, well, obviously I'm bragging if I'm not in your situation. I don't know where it comes from, or if it's just from like the pressure heaped on from when we're kids to think that is the right thing to do. I don't know, but it does feel, I do get uncomfortable. There's just an inner sense of discomfort talking about it too happily among parents.
But I feel that if there's the gloating thing has a role to play, there has to be some sort of insecurity on their part, something's wrong. Something's wrong on their part that they're saying you don't have to gloat. Like, what do you mean? So because whatever you post is cool because you're happy and you're just sharing your happiness. And the thing is, women become mothers, or in general people, but specifically women, and all bets are off. They can post whatever they want about their kids, whatever they want about their life. And everyone's supposed to go, oh. But if you post something like, I don't know, I got a PhD or whatever, or I bought a Mercedes because I fucking can, because I'm child free, or I went on a tour of, Asia, whatever it is. It never, ever gets the same response.
That makes sense to me. I feel that, I have a personal experience with this last week, and I had sent you to the DM of this lady that I knew from my church days, who told me, or she actually, no, this wasn't a DM. She posted this because I posted something on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. And then she commented. I had a lot of support from it, from, friends and family. And then she posted the comment publicly saying, just saying, anyone that usually has to say they're happy really isn't, it was that comment. And then I blocked her from everything because she follows all of my child-free stuff. And for 2 years, I've been putting up with her comments. And I know her history and the dirt I have on that woman. Seriously, I could have said something, but I was like, you know what, I've had enough.
And okay, so somebody, if you know they have something on you.
Pardon?
You must know that you're a really, really nice person, because it seems like she doesn't
know that I know what I know about her. Yeah. I mean, we've not been in contact, on a regular basis, just on social media, which really was pointless. But but I thought about that comment, and then, I mean, I've tried to explain to her, which was insane on my part, but I've tried to explain to her that what I do is I speak publicly about my child-free life for a reason, because I am building a brand, I am building a business around it. So of course I'm going to talk about being child-free, but that has never sunk in with her, which is why I deleted her, because I'm like, these comments do nothing. I can see that point, like, yes, I that's how I feel if people are going, oh my God, I'm so happy about anything. Usually there is a reason why they're doing it, because they're something's going wrong, and so they need validation where they have to post it. I do
like if every single post is, my husband is so wonderful. I love my husband so much. He was so sweet yesterday. My husband bought me flowers yesterday.
Yes.
I love my husband, whatever. It's like
2 months later, well, we're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Happens in the celebrity world all the time. But for me, I purpose on doing that, and I don't write posts that say I am so happy because, I don't think. No, I try and have some more substance behind it, but I do talk openly about my child-free life for that reason. And I mentioned this because I wanted to bring up a response we got to the story we posted. This person said, so the question was, do you tone down your child-free happiness around parents? And someone responded, yes, didn't even realize that I did until now. So here's the thing, when you're talking about something and people see it, and maybe it might click with them, and they go, oh, I had no idea. Like, for example, I had no idea I didn't have to have kids, or I did not realize I toned myself down around other people. So this is an example of why it's good to talk about anything, really, but specifically child-free happiness and the child-free lifestyle, and even things like, asking certain questions, because maybe people don't know. And then once they realize, oh, I do tone myself down, maybe they want to do something about it. Because the more we tone ourselves down, that's just kind of playing into, hush, hush, be quiet about being child-free. No one needs to know this stuff, and we can continue the pronatalist lifestyle and message for generations to come, which is the opposite of what we want to do here.
No, but I seriously think that parents who make child-free people uncomfortable about talking about our lifestyle are people who maybe didn't think about it before, Mm-hmm. This post in one of the Facebook groups, the Child-Free Facebook group, was around Mother's Day. So Child-Free Doodles posted, so the Child-Free Doodles is this big account. They post Child-Free Doodles. And one of them was like, happy non-Mother's Day or something. It was around Mother's Day. And somebody reposted that on their personal feed. And what happened is somebody, one of her friends or acquaintances, I don't know, who happened to just have given birth, sent her a DM saying, oh, give it a rest, you cunt.
Wow.
So she took a screenshot of that and posted it in the group, and she was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I getting attacked just because
What if someone said, give it a rest, you cunt, to pictures of their children? Holy shit.
So,
or maybe give your cunt a rest.
Or that. But in any case, I thought that was very aggressive. Of course it's aggressive. And I was like, well, this woman, she had a baby maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And is she already this fucking miserable about being a mom that she has to tell me to give it a rest? We can't even, it's not, we're generalizing here. Of course, not all parents react this way, but the ones who do, maybe they have to check themselves first.
It's too late for them.
It is.
They're kind of, the ones who didn't think about it and who are realizing, this is not for me. And I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of went and did it because, I don't know, why not? It's there's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. Yeah. It is what it is. And people hate that phrase. I love it. I'm going to keep on using it.
And the thing is, most of the child-free community want to see the child-free lifestyle become normalized and more mainstream. So, first of all, I don't know. Do you guys see a lot of miserable posts about the child-free lifestyle? I mean, we see miserable child-free people post angry things about parents and kids, but I mean, have you anywhere online seen anyone talking about how miserable they are being child-free? And I mean child-free by choice. I'm not talking about childless or child-free. Right. Okay.
No,
so
it's a choice. I mean, I've seen posts of women who want to have children and can't. So childless women, not by choice, who post about being miserable because the rounds of IVF don't work, because whatever they do, they can't seem to get pregnant. I've seen a lot of that. But never from someone who's child-free by choice saying, oh, I fucking hate my life. Not one.
The only misery connected to child-free people I have seen is other people telling child-free people that they're going to be miserable someday because they don't have children. That's the only place I've seen it, is somebody projecting it or really, really hoping for it. I'm pretty sure they're hoping for it.
That's true. I mean, there are people that do feel guilt about not wanting to have kids. And, that have suffered it because of their family members and other people in their life have given them so much shit about not wanting to have kids. So there is that misery that way, but that has nothing to do with them, their choice to not have kids, right? Like, it's not because they don't have kids and they're so miserable without them. That's a completely different.
It's like when people talk about people who had abortions being upset after an abortion, when probably 90% of the time, anybody who's upset after an abortion is upset because of how they were made to feel about having an abortion, or all of the stigma surrounding it, and it's other people making people miserable.
And so really, I mean, there is no point, and it really does not serve a purpose to tone down your child-free happiness around people who aren't child-free, because, well, there just is no purpose, because you're repressing your happiness to make someone feel better about their choice. And I mean, in my experience, anyone that's confident and happy to be a parent or has embraced parenthood is totally supportive and doesn't say stuff like that to me. They're like, great, you're happy. Good. 2 thumbs up. And we carry on, and they support what I do. So, yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And they'll like a post or share it.
Yeah, they don't dwell into why it is that you're doing this. Aren't you miserable?
Exactly.
Who's going to take care of you when you're old? They don't fucking get into it, because it's your life and it's a choice. Like we said, if anyone's child-free by choice and for some reason they start craving a baby, they can always have a baby, if they have thought about it. But like Kristen mentioned, if you have already a baby and then you decide you start craving the child-free life, you can't undo that.
You are fucked.
So I think that's also very important, a very important reason why it's important to talk about this. Like you were also, saying, LeNora, just a few minutes ago, putting the word out there in the sense that people understand that it is a choice to have kids. And if they want to have them, cool. But if they don't, then don't, because it's not, you can't just give the kid back. There are no backsies, And
parenthood is for a long time. I mean, well, it's really forever, because even when the kid is grown up, you're still a parent, and then potentially a grandparent, which has his own thing. Well, and the reason I feel so compelled to speak out is because people are not going to be stopping procreating, which means there are younger generations, and there's a growing child-free community that are a lot younger than us, and that are, in the formative years and growing, and they need to see content that is relevant to how they're feeling inside, that the 3 of us really didn't have the luxury of having. So,
no, that's true. There are people, we asked a question on Twitter and Instagram, when you were in high school or maybe just after high school, did you get the sense that you had to have kids, or did you know it was a choice? Terry Roberts said in high school, I still thought it was inevitable and dreaded it constantly. A few years into uni, I realized I could be child-free, social consequences and all, and decided putting up with people's reactions was better than caving into their expectations or demands. And someone else said, Iris, who's an RN, said, I felt like it was just something adults did once they got married. and never realized it was a choice until my late 20s. So glad I figured it out. And there was that one person on Instagram who commented once that she was dreading motherhood. There are so many younger people who still have no idea that it's a choice. And I think it's because there aren't, like you said, LeNora, there aren't a lot of people talking about being child-free. And I think that also as part of, people who sublimate their happiness. If parents are out there being all happy, happy, joy, joy about parenthood, and that's what young women are seeing, and they're not seeing people who are happy, happy, joy, joy about being child-free, because a lot of us are running around being quiet about it because they don't want to offend the parents who aren't happy in parenting, then they're only getting one side of this experience. And I think that's so they have this idea about not having kids, and that it's horrible and awful, and they're going to have an empty, lonely, regretful life. And that's why I think it would be valuable for them to see examples of happy child-free people, successful child-free people, like that you can get on Isabel's podcast, on The Honest Uproar. All she has are happy, successful, fulfilled, completely unregretful child-free people. And if younger people in high school are listening to podcasts like that, they'll be like, oh, it won't even be a question to them. They'll just see it as this completely viable, natural choice.
You know what? To this question, I was thinking about it today because I was trying to remember when I was in high school and how we talked about that, me and my friends. And we didn't say if we have kids, we all said when we have kids. It was inevitable. It was, we're going to get out of high school, go to university, get a degree, find a husband, get married, have kids. All of us. Like that was the life that we all had visioned for ourselves. And we didn't question it. Nothing about my formation ever made me question anything about motherhood. I personally realized that it was a choice when I was in my 30s, my early 30s. But still, all through my 20s, I wasn't too preoccupied or too bothered about finding that husband and, having kids. I was more worried about partying and having fun. I thought I had time. I was like, yeah, it's going to come. I'll get married. I'll have a kid when I'm in my 30s. It's going to be fine. Fortunately, because if I had been in my 20s looking, for that man to have the baby with, I would have been a mom like right now. I would have had at least one kid. And that's fucking scary, I started working on my inner development maybe a little bit over 10 years ago. So I was still I didn't know yet that it was a choice. Like I was still trying to find that part of myself that was going to be true and honor whatever I was feeling, whatever I wanted for myself. And I think one of the things that was very helpful for me at the time was journaling. And right now, for example, the Childfree Journals, LeNora's Childfree Journals are like an amazing tool for people who like to write and to just pour all of their thoughts about it. And especially hers, because it is designed for Childfree women. It is designed to cement that choice that you have. So, or not, not even cement, like if you're still thinking about it, you can, it's very relatable for women like us. So I wish
and for teenagers.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like these kids in school. The first time marriage was brought up to me, I was probably 15 years old. I entered into my first serious relationship when I was 14, and it lasted over a year. And that was my first boyfriend ever, first kiss. It was like a year-long relationship. And I still remember we were sitting outside this cafe called Il Perot. I think that's how you say it. It was this really great pizza place in St. Leon Road in Germany. And he held my hand and he said, he started touching my ring finger. And I was like, what? And he said, I don't know, like someday. I was like, I'm 16. And all I thought of with marriage was, of course I made this association between marriage and kids. And then from then on, it was this twinge of expectation and confusion about how I felt about it. So even that young, writing about it in my own journal where there was just blank lines would have been okay. But what really would have been awesome was having, and I'm being totally honest, I would have loved to have had LeNora's journal so that I could see these little happy things about not wanting kids. So even if I decided I wanted them, it'd be totally fine. But I'd also see these little happy stories of, okay, so marriage doesn't necessarily mean children. Okay, and that would help you also work through your thoughts in that very specific area. That would have been amazing as a teenager.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I completely agree. And speaking of 16-year-olds, we got this really interesting message on our Instagram in a DM that said, as a 16-year-old, I feel like I don't have a valid opinion about not having kids in the future, which, I mean...
But if she wanted kids, they'd say her opinion is totally valid.
I want to hug this person. So I messaged her back as Childfree Girls, and I responded saying, it's totally valid. We were also once 16-year-olds who didn't want to have kids. And now we are 37, and 45 and still don't want to have kids. So this whole, invalidating somebody's thoughts because they are, under the age of 18, whatever age you are at. I mean, it's ridiculous because we've been there. And actually, I mean, if you think about high school reading literature, something like The Age of the Child would be super helpful to share or to have put on the reading list. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in high school, but we read books. We had to do book reports. The Age of the Child talks about mindless procreation and the ramifications of it, and brings up different concepts like parenting license. It's a novel, but this would be a fabulous case study. Imagine if we had that book in high school, reading through it, and whatever your beliefs are, whatever you've been taught, and you read this book and you're like, wait a sec, what? Women don't want to have kids? Women don't have to have kids? What? Is this what happens if birth control is banned and abortions are banned? And it just opens up like this whole thought process, like this is something that has not been available in schools for us growing up that really needs to be changed.
A woman just communicated with me. She had just finished the book, and she was a lot of parents who read it are just appalled by the idea of parent licensing. They don't really notice the kids and how they're treated, but take away their right to parent. They're very, very upset. But the woman I spoke with yesterday was really mostly interested in the character of Millie, who was an unwanted child. And I think that's something we don't think about, when we're teaching kids that, no, you're going to grow up and have kids. Oh, you're 16, your opinion isn't valid. You should have kids. And you push this long enough, and then people think they have to have kids, and then they have kids they don't want. And these unwanted kids know it. These unwanted kids you can find them easily online, and and I'm not saying they're miserable, like they're awful, miserable people. I'm saying they're hurt. They're hurting. They grew up their whole lives knowing they're not wanted. And that's so important. It
is. And we see these comments even on our own social media from different individuals who, have come from toxic families, and they've had issues with their mothers and their fathers and even their siblings, but mostly to do with their parents, just kind of being a product of maybe not necessarily unwanted, but unloved, right? And not accepted. And parenthood is often promoted as unconditional love and total and complete acceptance of the child from the age of 0 to the end of its life. But I have met a lot of mostly women who feel so disconnected from their parents and do not have their support on anything in life. And I'm going, wait a sec, like this whole idea that parenthood is about unconditional love, clearly not the case, because there's a lot of people, as you said, who are hurting, and, and it's just, and that also affects their decision to not have kids because they felt that disconnect. And I grew up I've never experienced abuse of any kind. My issues were, religious based and stuff like that, but I didn't feel a connection to my parents at all either. So, and I don't have any horror stories that way, but I can understand the feeling of not, like, to me, like, I know my mother loved me and my brother a lot more than I felt that love back. And it feels, but it's not something that you really discuss. I mean, I think I mentioned that to my therapist. Actually, I journaled a ton as a kid, like from the age of 12 on. My mom found, actually, I never told you guys this. My mom found my diary.
Did she read it?
Yes, because I got a talking to from, actually, this was younger. I say my first journal was 12, but no, this was just a notebook that I had in grade 4 because we were moving. And I wrote how I felt about my mother, and it was not nice. And she found it. She never said anything to me, but my dad did. Because I said some very, very harsh things. But that's how I felt. That was how I felt as a 9-year-old. That was how I felt about my mother. And, we battled for years. I mean, luckily we became friends after I left home at 18. But, this is the thing, like, children feel things, and teenage would suck.
They feel everything. Teenagers feel everything.
Yeah, teenagers feel everything. It's horrible. Especially girl. Oh, I mean, I can only speak as a girl, but it sucks. But here's the thing, like, your feelings are valid, and especially when you're now able to kind of vocalize how you feel. It might feel clumsy. You don't have to be eloquent about it, but your thoughts and your feelings are of value. And if you don't feel understood, I mean, no teenager feels understood. It's a shit time. So, writing things down and reading material that speaks to the life that you're seeking, that you maybe didn't even know was possible. I mean, this is so important for your journey, for your development, to create. Like, I am all for people creating happy adult lives. I don't see a lot of them. More so in the child-free community than not. I mean, I know happy parents, but this is huge. And man, it would have saved me a lot of grief in my own head had I known any of this existed. Whether it's child-free podcasting. Wi-Fi wasn't the thing when I was a teenager. We had internet. I had dial-up initially, and then Wi-Fi wasn't the thing. But books, going to the library and be able to check out a book, or going to the bookstore and finding a journal, or a radio show, like actual radio show talking about someone who didn't want to have kids and didn't have kids. Like, think like how much that would have helped us. And now all of this stuff is actually available for the younger generation, and it's important because everything is, any kind of information is available to you now in most parts of the world, or a lot of parts of the world. And to deny people that knowledge and that awareness is just mean.
I think whether you want kids genuinely deeply in your soul is a pretty powerful feeling, and I think it's something you're pretty sure of. However, there's always a possibility you'll change your mind. That's just the way life works. Also, you could come from the best, happiest, and by best family, I don't mean breeding. I just mean the most loving, caring family in the world, and you hug your mom every morning and kiss your dad before having eggs. I don't know. It could be just absolutely sublime, and you could still not want to have kids. A lot of people will try to suggest that there is some sort of relationship deficiency between the child-free person and their parent. And there probably are many cases where that's true, just as there are many cases that's true with people who have children. And many people have children because of those problems. They want to fix it. They want to be the good parent they never had. I'm not sure that's a good reason to have a child, but that's not the conversation we're having.
Oh. I was just going to add to that there is no such thing as a perfect parent or a perfect family or a perfect anything. We've all been at different degrees and deepness or profoundness, fucked up by our parents. We've all been like, we all have something some baggage, something, because our parents hopefully tried to do the best they could with the tools that they had. But it doesn't mean that they did everything good or correctly, or at least they tried, Some parents...
They're just people.
Exactly. But my point is, some parents don't even try. Some parents are really assholes. But the ones that are like, at least try to do good with what they have with their children, there's still a possibility that you're not going to have like the perfect upbringing. And this applies for everyone. So, I mean, to your point, some people actually have children because I don't think consciously, but maybe they do unconsciously want to fix some of those things. But some people don't want to have kids and they're child free because they don't want to fuck up their children, and everything. I mean, whatever reason it is valid. I was just thinking also when I was, in high school, this was 20 years ago. It pains me to say this, but it has been 20 years since I was in high school. But I hope, I don't know because I don't have children and I don't talk with people who have teenage kids, but I hope that things have changed in terms of education because the world has changed. Like, I think education has to adapt to, how the world is moving. But in my time, all the readings, the books that we had on our reading lists were books in which we would find the metaphors for, I don't know, human existence or love or whatever. Like there wasn't anything or barely anything that was for critical thinking, that would actually make us as teenagers start questioning the world around us. It was all very cookie cutter. We were all going to grow up to be more or less the same type of people. And I think the age of the child would be a perfect tool to give the, kids in high school an opportunity to have some critical thinking about something as fucking important as the decision to become a parent.
It's criminal that in our general conversation around the world about procreation, that kids are given no value whatsoever. I mean, their actual existence is given no value. Sure, abortion, whatever. Then people give fetuses and embryos. I'm looking at you, Twitter lady. They give.
Me too. God.
Fetuses and embryos get a whole ton of respect and interest, but
then those fetuses and embryos grow up to be adults.
No one cares that some 12-year-old might get, I'm going to say raped. People use incest instead of rape, but still rape. It doesn't matter who's doing it. Raped by some stepfather or uncle and she's pregnant and, it's not right to terminate the embryo inside a 12-year-old girl who was forced to have sex and forced into a pregnancy. It just boggles my fucking mind.
Everyone has the right to life. And existing people my point is the existing people have a right to life too. Here's the thing, even on our Instagram alone, there are people that do not wish they existed. Not that they want to harm themselves, but they don't necessarily have the happiest life, or they're dealing with issues that they realize, okay, so I was here, I'm here, but if my parents didn't want me here prior to birth, that would have been okay too.
They're pissed off that there are so many people pissed off that they were born, like on the
yes. But there are certain movements that don't seem to realize that those people exist or give any value to their thought. It's like, oh, cute baby. But at a certain point, that cute baby will grow more and become a toddler, an adult, or toddler, teenager, the progression, and therefore all of its rights should be stripped away because it should just procreate. And that life should be more of value. I mean, deep breath. Hang on, let me get my journal and write into that because that pisses me off.
That's a great idea. No, but just to get back into the subject of being a teenager, I think if you're a young person and you're listening to this or you're watching us and you still have doubts about motherhood, it's normal. It's really normal. Just honor your feelings. Whatever it is that you're feeling about it, don't feel that you need to do anything that people is asking you to do just because it's the right way to go, whatever that means. Figure it out. And whatever you decide is going to be fine. Whatever you decide is going to be absolutely perfect.
And that's the other thing, because you don't have to have your life all figured out, because it's impossible. I mean, I was one of those people that always had a life plan from a very young age. I knew what I wanted to do, and I went and did it. But then 25 hit, and suddenly what I had worked my entire life at, which was the violin, I didn't want to do anymore. That threw me for a loop, because I didn't realize I had other options. I didn't know what those other options were. It would take another 10 years of, different life experiences, different jobs, different relationships to realize, oh, I kind of see, like, I can still do what I wanted to do as a child, like my dream as an adult, but just in a different way. Like it takes a long time. And then, 10 years from now, I don't know what I'll be doing. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I'm realizing that life shifts and more opportunities open up. So when you're, if high school graduation is approaching, you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I mean, nobody has that figured out. We can speak from experience because we may be called child-free girls, but we are grown women. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out because nobody has it all figured out. Just have some fun along the way. Birth control is always great. And, have an adventure.
I actually feel bad for high schoolers who have it all figured out. I mean, it just makes me kind of sad to think of a 13-year-old or 13 is way too young, but let's just say a 16-year-old who knows exactly what they want to do for the rest of their life. They have all their plans in place. They want to be a lawyer or whatever, or a doctor. It's great if that's your passion and you want to follow it. That's fantastic. But that's someone who already knows what they want to do and they just have this drive they can't suppress. Anybody else, I hope they don't know what they want to do, because I can think of nothing more depressing than deciding at 15, 16, 17 years old, okay, so this is going to be my direction for the rest of my life. I pretty much see it all out ahead of me. What the hell is the point? I mean, God.
That excited me, though. I was like,
that's what but sure, if it excites you, great. But if you're someone who doesn't have that plan, if you don't know what's going on, that is nothing to be afraid of. It's way better than feeling like you have to decide on something and then at least if it's not kids, you can kind of change your mind along the way. But I think it would be really just too much pressure and it's kind of like kids in that way, too much pressure to be like, okay, I guess I have to decide what I want to do for the rest of my life. Shit. Okay, wait, accounting. Okay, so now I'll spend 4 years in school learning accounting and I hate math, but it's a really good job. And then you're stuck because that's your stupid degree. No offense, LeNora.
Hey, I'm a bitchy bookkeeper, but I'm not a bookkeeper and I do not have an accounting degree. I have a certificate in bookkeeping, but that's it.
But that was just an example. That would really devastate me. But I know some people, math is fun. Math is fun. But I'm just saying, if you don't know what you want to do, it's embrace that. I have never known what I want to do. I'm 46 next month. I have no idea. I just like to sit around and write. And I guess I get to do that. But I've had a lot of jobs, I played the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I was a cab driver. I was a grocery bagger. I have done so many jobs, worked for a newspaper, taught professor type jobs, adjunct, but still, it's fun.
That's the thing. Life is an adventure. And I did not know that because, in my 20s, I was so focused and never really envisioned my life after past 30 because I just couldn't wrap my head around that. And now at 37, I'm like I look at the next few decades of my life and I go, wow, there's so many things I want to do. And I know that there's so many things I'm going to do that I have not even thought of yet, which that's exciting. And I don't hear enough adults saying that. So I'm going to say that as that adult who can, because I've had some life experience and I am very optimistic about my life. And that's the exciting part is 30s and realizing that, hey, you can do many things and you don't even have to know what they are right now. It's that feeling of wanting to wake up most mornings and let's see what happens. Start something and watch it grow. I'm not talking about a kid, it's just
something you can abandon in 6 months if you want to.
Exactly. Okay, the blogging thing's not working out. Delete. That's not the case, by the way. But things evolve. So that is something that if you're younger than us, because we're still young, if you're younger and you're feeling completely lost, it gets better because we've all been through that. You still go through that. I went through that over the winter. You sometimes you just kind of gotta just breathe because all you can do is breathe and take one moment at a time. But the thing is there's still so much ahead of you and there's so much life to live, and the fun part is that you don't even know what's possible at this point still. So
there's no such thing as adulthood. You might think, oh, when I get older, I'm going to be basically dead anyway, so I might as well have kids. I want to have all my fun. I want to have all my fun and then I'll have kids and be ready to settle down. No, there's no line where you suddenly become an adult and you're like, okay, I'm bored with life. I guess I have a family. You really are still yourself. You're every bit yourself every single day. So there's no dividing line. Adulthood is a total myth. It's a completely abstract bullshit. The only thing an adult does is, stuff like be able to buy a car or pay rent or buy food. Like you have adult responsibilities. But in terms of what you might think of when you see an adult, those people don't exist. They're just you, but with more years on them.
Well, I love being an adult. But I always say that I feel like a kid with adult resources.
Well, yeah, there's freedom.
There is freedom. There is responsibility in keeping yourself afloat, and you have to take responsibility for your own happiness, and you have to take responsibility for providing yourself the life that you want. I mean, I speak as a single, unattached woman who is responsible for everything. So and that definitely comes with this challenge. It's not the single part, but other just paying the bills and all that stuff. But I've always looked at, since 18 and onward, I would never go back to childhood, because childhood was like, I felt trapped and I couldn't express myself, and I'm still learning to express myself. Like, there's so much, being an adult is fun. Like my experience, it's fun. But yeah, I guess like what you said, Kristen, it's not adulthood, like how I'm kind of the person that I am the person that as a young person, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I want to be like that. Not to say I'm the best person or anything, but like there were certain people I looked up to, and I don't know how they became, but I am that person, which is why I like being friends with kids and, younger people, because it's like, hey, it's possible. I mean, I have 12-year-old energy, so, maybe that's why I get along with kids.
I think what I thought of adulthood was that I really just thought there was a difference in who people were. Like I don't know if I thought they had things figured out, but I assumed that they were basically shells of human beings. Like their whole life was basically over. Adulthood depressed me. I did not want to be one. I don't know. Like I didn't understand it at all. And I just thought it was different. And, like I thought people like, not politicians, but politicians because they were adults. I just kind of assumed you could trust them. I kind of assumed they were grown up and wouldn't get in little Twitter fights or be stupid. I just thought I thought they had a certain element of, maturity, and they don't. I mean, just because they are of a certain age doesn't mean they have any more maturity than they had when they were 16 or 14 or 12 for that matter, or perhaps 6 years old if we're talking about our president. But it's like, that's the thing there's this expectation of adulthood. I think sometimes it makes people think, well, it'll be different when I'm there, but there's not that much of a difference in who you are.
That is so true. I don't know, how old do you guys feel, like, inwardly? Really?
15.
Yeah.
I think like 22 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still, I always felt 12. I'm like, I should bump that age up a bit.
Yeah, 12.
But the thing is, I was a miserable 14-year-old and 15-year-old. Like, I was just a nightmare because I was so unhappy with my home life. So
I was a bad teenager too.
I don't want to say I feel 14 because I think 12 was like the last age of innocent feeling that I've kind of reclaimed in my life now. So I'm going to stick with 12. I mean, I don't feel, I probably feel 22 also, maybe, but it just,
No, you know what? I want to bump up to 23. I just remember that was the best time of my life. Like when I was 15, I was also a terrible teenager. I was one of those rebels without a cause. I was giving my parents a really hard time. I was shitty teenager, like a horrible one. And when I was 15, that was like the cusp of it. Yeah, when I was 23, oh my God, yes, I feel 23.
No, 30 was my magical number. I mean, my 30s have been my magical number. But here's the thing. I was born 30. I've always been older. I've never understood people my own age. I always hung out with adults. At 30, I finally caught up where my outer appearance and my inward feeling finally connected. Like I always looked older and I've kind of aged backwards in a way. And I've but my inward, I always felt 30. So, but I don't want to say I feel 30 because I'm only 37. So I'll go to 12 because I was feeling, it's because I was feeling, okay.
Because at 12, you were 30 anyway. So
yeah, exactly. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. When I was 12 years old, I felt the way I feel now. Like I've always been an old soul. So it all just kind of meshes. So there's not a lot of difference in feeling. I just have the freedom to do everything I wished I could at 12, and I'm able to, learn enough to enjoy it now at this age. So the inward feeling from 12 to 30, whatever I'm at, is still the same. Well, that is all for this episode. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. You can always email us at childfreegirls@gmail.com.
And if you want to find us on social media, you can find us with the @ChildfreeGirls. We're mostly active on Facebook and Instagram, but we're also on Pinterest, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're everywhere. Just come and follow us.
And we have a question for you to answer below, or you can email us. When you were in high school or just beyond, were you confident in the knowledge that parenthood was a choice, or did you feel, for better or worse, that it was simply something waiting for you in the future, just something inevitable? Let us know. We're really, really interested to know what you think. Down there.